A well-respected historian has a radical theory to explain a nagging question. Why did average Germans support the Nazis and Hitler? Now, he believes it is because of this idea of a feel-good dictator. So a dictator is somebody who rules by themselves, in charge, and with very little help from anyone else, and they will make that decision by themselves. Now, this idea of feel-good dictator, he believes that Hitler made Germans feel important. One thing that I will say is, it isn't everybody. In this lesson, I'm going to focus on kind of what Hitler would see as being the perfect German people. Unfortunately, people such as Jews, communists, gypsies, people with mental and physical disabilities were not treated in this way at all. And we cannot forget that some of the horrors that Hitler and Nazi Germany caused. Now, one thing that Hitler did for average German people who he really liked was, first of all, it was a race called the Aryan race. And he believed that the perfect German would have blonde hair and blue eyes. Now, German people were treated as something called strength through joy. And this was to keep German workers happy. And it was set up to occupy workers with free time with Nazi-approved activities. It organised trips to concerts, plays, exhibitions, sporting events, folk dances, educational events, and even arranged holidays. They built almost like a Butlins called Prora, where people could go to, and people also got cruises around the Mediterranean too. By 1938, a special Strength Through Joy office was organising holidays and travel for approximately 10.3 million Germans. And it also set up a scheme where workers could pay to receive a Volkswagen Beetle. However, no worker actually received a Beetle, because instead the factories that were made to build them were turned into factories for war vehicles instead. Another thing that he did for workers was called the Beauty of Work, and this was to improve the quality of the workplace. It was set up to help Germans see that work was good and everybody who could work should. It introduced features not seen before in workplaces, such as washing facilities, low-cost canteens and sports facilities, and it also made buildings with better ventilation, more light and more open space. One thing he also did was called the German Labour Front. Now, this replaced something called a trade union, and trade unions, all teachers, for example, are part of a trade union. And if I was unhappy in my workplace, if I thought that my classroom got too hot, I could go to my trade union and say, look, I'm not happy, I want air conditioning. And if the principal or whoever was in charge of that school didn't agree, then my trade union could help me to go on strike. So I would refuse to work until something could be sorted. Now, Hitler didn't want people going on strike and not working, because he wants people building and preparing for a war. So he introduces a German labour front. Bosses can no longer sack workers on the spot. However, people ended up working a really long time. On average, people would work 60 to 72 hours a week. Workers also could not leave a job without the government's permission. Strikes were made illegal, and workers could no longer bargain for higher wages or better working conditions. Now, one group of people that is massively effective is young people. The Nazis changed the education a person would receive. The aim was to brainwash young people. Education would prepare children for their future jobs, so boys were trained to be soldiers and girls were trained to be mothers. Lessons children would do changed. Girls did needlework and childcare, and boys did lots of sport. They'd learn chemistry and maths. But in maths and in chemistry, for example, it would focus on the angle which you would need to be able to drop a bomb at to cause the most destruction. In school, children were taught race studies instead of biology, and in that they were taught it as if it was a science. They were taught to identify a Jewish person by the shape and size of their nose. In maths, students solved problems to work out how much it would cost to care for a mentally disabled person. All of this is made to indoctrinate and brainwash young people into thinking that these people are not as good as them, therefore we shouldn't be caring for them. So like I said at the beginning, not everybody benefited in Nazi Germany. It's a very sad thing that happened to lots of people that Hitler didn't seem as perfect. Any free time young people had would be occupied by something called the Hitler Youth. And this was like an after school club, like a Brownies or a Guides or a Scouts. And this continued to prepare young people for their future roles. Boys would go on camping trips and practice battle, while girls would do housework and take care of younger children. The last group that had changed was women. Women were prevented from working. They could not wear makeup or trousers, and they were not allowed to smoke. Any women that were working when the Nazis came to power were removed from their jobs. The Nazis saw that the women's place was at home. They would be given medals for the amount of children they had, so 8 children would get you a gold medal. Mother's Day became a huge celebration, and the Hitler Youth would salute women who had a gold medal. Women were really important to the Nazis because they needed more children to create more loyal Nazis and a bigger army. Now, what I want you to think about is that a feel-good dictatorship? Do you think that people supported the Nazis because he made their lives pretty good? Then I'd like you to answer the following questions. So how did Hitler improve workers' lives? I want you to think about how he made their working conditions better. Did he improve their lives outside of work? How did the lives of children change? Where did they have to go to after school? What were their lessons like? How did the lives of women change? Were any of their freedoms reduced? Do you think women were happy to be able to have their lives changed, to be able to receive a gold medal? And did everybody benefit from life in Nazi Germany?